Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about more free agency stuff. I made a video a handful of days ago talking about my top 10 NBA free agents of the 2020 offseason. And in today's video, I'm going to go through and talk about the ideal fit for each of those 10 players in order where I think would be a really good fit for them in free agency. And this was actually suggested to me by someone in the Discord. If you guys haven't checked out the Discord yet, it's a great place to hang out. There's a text channel there that you can suggest video ideas to me, and that's where this video idea came from. So thank you for suggesting that. And if you have more ideas you want to throw out there, you can go over there and check that out. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload basically every single day, and a lot of times it's going to be 2 times a day as well moving forward. So it's a great place for consistent NBA content, and leaving a like rating is a great way as well to let me know that you're enjoying the content, and it helps out the video get to more people, on YouTube. Really quickly though, a couple things to shout out. I already talked about the Discord server, but you can also come hang out with me at twitch.tv/spolo_TD. It's a great place to just hang out, talk about basketball, talk about whatever. I've really been enjoying continuing to grow that platform. So if you haven't checked it out already, you definitely should. With that said, let's go and get into the rankings. Okay, so if you didn't see the video the other day, here are my top 10 free agents in this 2020 NBA free agency class, not including restricted free agents. These are all unrestricted or player option guys. We've got Bertans at 10, followed by Gordon Hayward, Andre Drummond, Montrezl Harrell, Jeremy Grant, Danillo Gallinari, Goran Dragic, VanVleet, DeMar DeRozan, and Anthony Davis. We're going to go from 10 to 1 here. And at number 10 for Bertans, I thought about this one for a while because I'm going to be honest, the more I looked at this, I was like, man, it's going to be tough to find a fit that is realistic because, it's tough to tell what these guys are going to be worth. There's not a teams with an inordinate amount of cap space. So I tried to make these as realistic as I could, but I fudged the numbers on some of these a little bit because I love the fit so much that even if they don't have an incredible amount of cap space right now, they could find a way to create it, as we've seen teams get creative in the past with their cap space. So at 10 for Bertans, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Pelicans. In all likelihood, they're not going to have like $15 million to throw at Davis Bertans this offseason after re-signing Brandon Ingram to an extension. But still, if they were able to carve out space, I really love that fit. Like, this is a team that needs more spacing. They need more consistent shooting. And having Bertans there next to Jackson Hayes and next to Zion Williamson and Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram and Jrue Holiday, JJ Redick out there on the floor as well, like, that would do so much for their spacing. Watching him just bomb threes away around all those other guys would be a really interesting fit. And you could say that about a lot of teams, right? You can go around the league and say they need shooting, they need spacing at the 4. But specifically for the Pelicans, with all the young players they have, with all the perimeter creation they have with Brandon Ingram, Jrue Holiday, Lonzo Ball, Zion Williamson can be thrown in there as well. I think having Bertans over there would be an awesome thing to see. Like, imagine a lineup of Holiday, Ball, Ingram, Zion, and Bertans. How fun would that be? That would be a super cool group, and that's why I think that is as close to an ideal fit as you can get for Bertans this offseason. Whether it's realistic, I don't know. At number 9 is Gordon Hayward. I'm not going to spend too much time here. He's going to opt in to Boston. There's not really a point in talking too much about where his ideal fit is. He's going to opt into his player option there in Boston. Moving on. At number 8 now is Andre Drummond, and this would involve a sign and trade situation. And it's similar to how the Heat ended up with Jimmy Butler last year, where they traded Josh Richardson for Jimmy Butler despite not having any cap space. And Boston here does a similar thing with a sign and trade via free agency because they really need a big man. And I'm going to have Andre Drummond going to Boston as an ideal fit. Now, defensively, Andre Drummond isn't a great big, but he solves so many issues for the Celtics in terms of just size at the 5 spot, just, the ability to at least defend a little bit in the post and rebounding as well, which has been an issue for almost the entirety of the Brad Stevens era, it feels like. So getting Andre Drummond there in Boston, again, via a sign and trade because they won't have the cap space to be able to do it, would be a really interesting fit for me. I think that would be a nearly ideal fit for Drummond and his skill set and for what Boston needs as well. At number 7 now is Montrezl Harrell, and this one I went with the team that has the cap space to make this deal happen. This has been talked about a ton on the stream, and it's a team I think that actually would really covet what Montrezl Harrell does, and it's the Charlotte Hornets. A team that certainly needs inside scoring, has some other interesting pieces on the roster, but for the most part, really needs as close to a top tier scorer as they can get. And Montrezl Harrell would certainly help them do that. They'd have a ton of money to throw at them. They'd have somebody that could average 20 and 10 for them pretty easily. And he had some struggles in the postseason, but as my stream pointed out the other day, the Hornets don't really make the postseason, so it's not really that big of an issue. So if we're talking about an ideal fit, if Montrezl Harrell does want to leave the Clippers, I think the Charlotte Hornets are a team to keep an eye on, as pretty close to an ideal fit as you can get for what Montrezl Harrell provides. At number 6 now is Jerami Grant, and honestly, I love Jerami Grant's fit in Denver, but if you want to, make it a little bit more interesting and have him go somewhere outside of Denver, why not the Phoenix Suns? Another guy that can defend and can shoot a little bit for them, provides them a ton of versatility in the front court, and might be the missing link for that Suns team defensively to really unlock, the rest of what this group could be doing moving forward. I mean, you're talking about Ricky Rubio, you're talking about Devin Booker. They've got a handful of wings: Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Kelly Oubre. You throw Jerami Grant in there, you've got DeAndre Ayton. That becomes a really, really interesting group without even selecting a player in this upcoming draft. So again, he would be in a similar role to what he did for Denver, where he, has the ability to defend some of the better 3s and 4s in the entire league. I think it's pretty likely he's going to return to Denver. They seem pretty motivated to retain him, but if you want to send him somewhere else, what's wrong with the Phoenix Suns? And number 5 now is going to be Danilo Gallinari, the 5th best free agent in the 2020 NBA free agency class, in my opinion. And this is another weird one. Why not the Toronto Raptors for Danilo Gallinari? Now, with the understanding that if they sign him to a long-term deal, they're messing with their cap space, right? Also, maybe they'll just sign him to a 1-year deal. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a sign and trade. Regardless, let's just talk about the team player fit. The Raptors, as good as they were last year without Kawhi, certainly lack some perimeter creation on the wing, maybe a little bit of shooting in there as well. And they've got the defensive players around Gallinari to make this work and to not have to worry too much about some of his deficiencies on that end. And if he's healthy, he's going to score 20 points per game for them. You know what I mean? You don't have to rely so much on Siakam to do, perimeter creation and scoring 28 a game. VanVleet and Lowry have some pressure taken off of them. That gives them some size as well, again, to create on the perimeter. What's wrong with that Danilo Gallinari fit in Toronto? That would be a really interesting team. And even if they did sign him to a longer term deal, that adds another piece to, if Giannis or whoever did want to come to Toronto, another piece for them to take a look at and say, you know what, hey, this actually could work. We've got Siakam, we've got Gallinari, we've got probably VanVleet at that point. What else could we, bring in here that would really fit around those 3 guys? I like the Gallinari fit in Toronto. I really do. Next up now at number 4, it's going to be Goran Dragic. I mean, the Miami Heat is pretty close to an ideal scenario if you can get there. Maybe you could make an argument that going to Dallas and playing alongside his national team teammate and Luka Doncic would be an interesting fit there as well. But I find it hard to believe that the Heat are going to let him walk easily, at least. I mean, if a team completely blows Dragic away with a multi-year deal, he's probably gone. But I think if you're looking at an ideal circumstance, a team that needs his perimeter creation but isn't going to rely on it 100% of the time and can hide him defensively, a team that he's really comfortable with, I think it makes sense for him to go back to Miami. Number 3 now, Fred VanVleet, another player that's going to stay with his current team. It's going to be Toronto. I did this for some of these players just because if you want to talk about strictly an ideal fit, like staying with their current team is pretty close to ideal, and VanVleet is one of those guys. Can defend, can shoot, can play make, does a lot of things well for that Toronto team, and there's really no reason for him to go anywhere else. They're going to pay him, something that is pretty much market value, and he's going to stay in Toronto. That's pretty much all I have to say. And number 2 now, though, this is probably the most interesting one of the entire video. It's DeMar DeRozan. And let's just say he did leave San Antonio, which I don't think it's all that likely that he opts out and leaves this offseason, but let's just say that he did. The Atlanta Hawks are a really interesting fit for DeMar DeRozan for me. And at first you're thinking, why do they want to do that? They don't need another perimeter guy taking the ball out of Trae Young's hands. They have all these other players they want to develop. Well, they've got players there in Atlanta that fit around what DeMar DeRozan does well. I mean, they've got shooting, they've got spacing, they have guys that can defend, they've got younger players there. I don't see anything wrong with this fit at all. Now, yeah, there might be a little bit of an adjustment period with DeMar DeRozan and Trae Young and that kind of dynamic, right? But even if you wanted to make the argument that he should be coming off the bench, I think it'd be an awesome player for them to not have Trae Young have to create 60 points a game between his scoring and his assist numbers, right? Like, that to me makes total sense. And again, DeMar DeRozan, not a great defender. They have some defensive wings that can make up for that. Maybe they're not going to be a great defensive team, but it's not going to be an awful thing. And then, he's not a great outside shooter, but they have spacing. Now, the problem is going to be is if he's starting, do they have enough spacing outside of Trae Young to really make that work? Because DeMar DeRozan as an off-ball player is not an ideal fit, and I get that. But just if you're looking at kind of an outside-the-box thought here, and you're not just saying, oh, he's going to go back to San Antonio, what's wrong with DeMar DeRozan in Atlanta? For me, that's interesting. And at number 1 now, Anthony Davis, he's going back to the Lakers. It's an ideal fit. He's got the prime. He's got a team that he just won a championship with. There's no reason for him to go anywhere else. I really don't feel the need to spend any time on him at all. And so that is going to be the end of the list and of the ideal fits with these rankings. Like I said, at number 10, it's going to be Davis Bertans going to the Pelicans. Gordon Hayward staying put in the Celtics. Andre Drummond going to the Celtics as well in a sign and trade. Montrezl Harrell to the Hornets. Jerami Grant to the Suns. Danilo Gallinari to the Raptors. Dragic to the Heat. VanVleet to the Raptors. DeRozan to the Hawks. and Anthony Davis to the LA Lakers. And yeah, there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Starker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.